These are brand new heroes coming to Marvel Rivals either in Season 1 or later in the future. Some would call these leaks, but they're data-mined bits of information straight from the game's files, so the only thing stopping these heroes from becoming a reality is if the devs change their minds. Based on my last leak video, which turned out to be 100% accurate, you can hold your breath for these. First we have Mr. Fantastic. I was expecting he would be a Vanguard as he would thematically suit the role, able to blow up and absorb hits. However, he's seemingly a duelist that has a lot of survivability. His left click is Elastic Punch. I imagine it would be a long-range melee attack, which essentially means it will function like a projectile with limited range. I'm thinking similar to Winter Soldier's hook. Let's hope Mr. Fantastic doesn't need to reload his arms. His right click extends his arms forward to entangle hit enemies. Then press left click after entanglement to select and yank 2 more enemies. Just from reading the description, it's hard to tell exactly how this will work, but it seems like you disable your left click in order to disable enemies' hit. It's unclear if this does damage. Flexible elongation with E. It selects a target and dashes towards it, dealing damage to enemies and granting bonus health to allies, which probably includes him too. It seems melee duelists do well with a dash of some kind to get in, and this one grants bonus health to allies, so having Mr. Fantastic dictate when you charge in might be the right move. With left shift you cast Reflective Rubber. You can stretch your body to absorb damage before launching stored damage in the target direction. Now, this doesn't tell us the extent of stored damage. If enemies see you stretching, they may simply stop attacking you, so in order for this to be good, it has to absorb ultimates like Iron Man's in order to reflect it back, which would make it a arguably better Captain America's shield. So far that's 2 defensive abilities on a duelist. Then we have Elastic Strength as a passive. Skills will generate elasticity, boosting attack power. There it is, defensive to be offensive. Reaching full elasticity triggers an inflated state that restores health and boosts even more damage. So they managed to tack on another defensive aspect to an offensive passive. Use your abilities like you will be doing regardless to get progressively stronger. Finally, his ultimate, Brainiac Bounce. You leap and smash down, knocking back enemies within range. Upon hitting an enemy, you leap again up to 6 times. This brings back PTSD. Unlike Winter Soldier though, you don't have to hit an enemy to go again. Without seeing the damage numbers, it's hard to tell how effective Mr. Fantastic will be, but with so many defensive options and the fact he becomes more lethal the longer the fight goes, it's hard to imagine he would be bad, especially if you have decent healers that will secondary heal you without even trying. Like the next hero, Ultron. Ultron is a strategist hero, meaning that yes, he will have ways to support the team. This doesn't always mean his damage will be lacking. His left click is an energy beam attack, which we can't gauge without knowing the damage numbers, accuracy, and projectile speed. Like other strategists, it heals allies and damages enemies. His right click is Imperative Firewall. It summons drones to grant bonus health to allies in range, centered on himself and the ally marked with the Imperative Patch ability. Now, this seems like an AoE bubble shield of some kind that protects your allies by giving them extra health, but also protects the allies you've put the patch on. The Imperative Patch with the E button commands a drone to follow an ally, and it constantly heals allies in a radius with additional healing on the designated ally. Now, this could have been just a single target heal that you place on your tank, but it seems as though Ultron's kit allows him to heal and protect without having to target individuals and rewards sort of death ball-like strategy, so maybe have your Hulk and your Wolverine jump in at once. He has a passive slow fall and flight on left shift. He can fly quickly in the direction of movement, then enter a free flight mode. This will most likely be for a limited time, so yes, he will be grounded most of the time. So basically this is a dash that lets you fly around for a short time. Similar to Doctor Strange, except instead of going vertically up, it goes in the direction of your movement. I expect this to be used defensively. His ultimate is Rage of Ultron. It summons Ultron drones to fire the same left click as the one you have, which damages enemies and heals allies. So this is again a way to support the whole team, as it spreads out and is not under your control. So it seems Ultron is all about freeing up time to use his left click, as all his abilities are fire and forget. It's not clear if the left click will be an AoE or will be single target, but all his other moves are AoE in some way. I'm hoping his beam does decent damage so he can be a support that deals damage and just so happens to heal as well. The Human Torch is next and is the final hero we can see both the in-game model for and their ability sheet. He's a duelist with a 3-star difficulty. The assumption is he naturally flies like Storm and Iron Man, evidenced by his left shift, plasma body. It makes it so he can rapidly ascend into the air. I think if he wasn't already flying, it would say take flight like Ultron's left shift does, instead of saying ascend. So with F, you can cast Flaming Meteor, which dives towards the ground and stuns nearby enemies. If you weren't already flying, this would simply say dash. This gives him a way to get up close and finish targets off while they're stunned or activate your ultimate. I assume he does a lot of damage up close based on what I assume is a shotgun left click. With left click, you fire cluster, which launches forward a splittable fireball. Not sure what splittable means just yet. It could mean once it hits a target, it splits and continues on, or could mean hit the environment, or could mean it naturally splits on its own, or it could mean pressing the button again splits. I'm going to go with splitting on its own so it looks sort of like a shotgun. Regardless, I imagine the non-split fireball will deal more damage. With right click, you cast Blazing Blast. It launches a fireball to create a field at the target area. These fields will come into play, pun intended, with his other abilities. With Pyro Prison on E, you can connect the flame fields to form a firewall that deals burning damage to enemies. This means your right click has to have either charges or a very low cooldown. You also have to imagine that the flame fields it leaves behind deal damage too. So it seems Human Torch will be an area denial kind of hero. A good player will be able to control the field and funnel enemies into his team's big plays and ultimates, so having flight will actually be an advantage for the Human Torch as he can clearly see the environment that he needs to deny. That's not all though. With his ultimate, Supernova, you can unleash shockwaves that deal damage to enemies within range. This will be close to your body, radiating out, so using Flaming Meteor, then an ultimate is probably the combo they expect you to do. Also, if the area is Pyro Prisoned up, enemies won't be able to escape from the supernova effect easily, especially since flame fields will transform into fire tornadoes, so deny areas and nuke your opponents down. Also, he has a team up with Storm. Storm can consume the fire tornado into her ultimate to ignite it. Likewise, the Human Torch can transform Storm's hurricane into a fiery hurricane with his ultimate, which will then enlarge and intensify any of his fire tornadoes caught in its path. Storm's ultimate already basically kills anything it hits too quickly for them to escape, so I'm a bit iffy on this team up. Both characters need to pop their ultimates at the same time, and I would assume using them separately would be better as it gives you an advantage in 2 clashes instead of just 1, but I'm sure there are situations that call for this. Next is the Hood. Recently data mined, so we don't have much information. All we know are his abilities. He has dual pistols it seems and can transform into his demon form. His abilities are dual gun shooting, dual gun overheat cooling, shield, shield health management, clone projection, clone range control, clone detonation, and demon transformation. These are based on reading abilities in the data mine. It gives us relatively little to go on, besides that his dual guns will build up heat and likely fire very fast. He has a shield and a way to manage it. He can also summon clones and change their position, similar to Loki, but can also detonate them. Finally, he can transform into a demon form, which will likely give him more damage. Based on all of this, he's almost guaranteed to be a duelist. There's also been a recent data mine for Hit Monkey, which was translated from Chinese and might not be 100% accurate wording wise. He has the abilities Kitten Howling, Endless Rage, Fear Hunt, and dual gun shooting. Once again, it seems like this is another duelist, but without more information, it's hard to tell his playstyle. So I'll just get the heroes we have very little information out the way before continuing on. We have very little information on Deadpool, but we know he'll be in the game. We have very little information on Captain Marvel, Angela, and Valkyrie, but we know they'll be in the game, and this is based on some data mining. Moving on, we have Jean Grey and Emma Frost confirmed in the game files. Here's an example of data mining that I'm talking about. Here's one of the strings that show their abilities, one for Diamond Form and one for Phoenix Ray. So it's unclear if she'll be called the Phoenix or Jean Grey in game, but here are her abilities: Phoenix Shadow, Phoenix Ray, Phoenix Punishment, Psychic Explosion, Telekinetic Explosion, Phoenix Wings Flying, Telekinetic Transfer, Psychokinetic Transfer, Shattered Star Impact, and Phoenix Algally. It seems she has quite a few abilities because they will change while in Phoenix form, which makes sense. It's extremely likely she'll be a duelist, but I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up a strategist with incidental healing similar to Ultron. Now, Emma Frost. Psychic Blast, Psychic Ray in human form, Psychic Ray 2, Psychic Barrier, Diamond Form, Diamond Shock, Diamond Kick, Diamond Back Slam, Soul Control, Mind Connection, and Piercing Strikes. That's a mouthful as well, but it seems she also has forms. In this case, her Diamond Form gives her different abilities. I'm most interested in her Mind Control ability. I would expect something like that if Professor X ever makes it into the game, but if she can take control of an enemy, that's a 2-player swing. Next up is Blade. We get a look at his model in game, which I initially thought was goofy, but it's kind of grown on me. He has 2 weapons, a katana and hunting shotgun, which you can switch between either with the scroll wheel or 1 or 2 buttons, or on the controller, I'm not quite sure. His passive is Bloodline Liberation, his ability 1 is Stomp and Slash, ability 2 is Dark Knight Attack, his ability 3 is Fang Deflect, and his ultimate is New Moon. This leans into him being a duelist. Nothing suggests Vanguard, and most definitely not strategist. New Moon might be a buff or enrage effect. His description is half human and half vampire. Eric Brooks walks between worlds, craving the very life force of his enemies. As night falls, Blade's hunt begins as he wields the swords of Dracula to become the nightmare of any foe who dares bare their fangs. I'm seeing him as a kind of Genji-like hero, but tell me your thoughts below. Next is Invisible Woman. She has psionic invisibility, she has the passive Invisible Energy, her ability 1 is Psychic Strike, her ability 2 is Psychic Aid, her ability 3 is Psychic Vortex, her ultimate is Psycho Field. It seems all but confirmed she will be a strategist, as she can heal others with Psychic Aid, and I have to imagine she will be mostly invisible the whole time unless casting her abilities, and I suspect her ultimate makes the whole team invisible. She really does need that gimmick, and it also improves Moon Knight further. The Thing's face was accidentally leaked a while back on Marvel Rivals advertisement, but he has since then been Datamined. He has the following abilities. He has the passive Solid as a Rock, which makes him immune to knockback and other displacement effects. He has a primary attack, Combination Punch, which is just quick and continuous punches. He has the secondary, which is the right click, to deliver a devastating punch called Thunderbolt's Punch. Left shift is Furious Charge, which continuously charges forward, lifting up enemies in your path, leaving behind a seismic zone that prohibits displacement. So a bit of battlefield control. His E ability is Battlefield Support, jumps towards teammates and adds damage reduction to them and yourself, so battlefield control and support. Then his ultimate is Slam Moment. I'm disappointed it isn't Clobbering Time. He uses tremendous force to knock back all enemies in front of you into the air. So it seems like he's the Hulk. He'll be another Vanguard melee hero. Not sure why they chose to put him in before other heroes since we already have a character like him, but maybe they just wanted to complete the whole Fantastic Four. He does seem to have more AoE focus than the Hulk and does protect teammates a bit more. So that's everything. What do you think? Excited for all the heroes set to release next? Let me know below. Also let me know what heroes you'd like to see in game. Thanks for watching, and until next time, ciao friends.